Yo, it's crazy to me that people can be a Detroit Pistons fan and not be excited about this roster. I want to dive into that in this video. If you enjoy it, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell. Let me just say, I'm not going to quite get to the point where I'm saying I'm disgusted, right? Where I'm just appalled by these fans. But I will say this. As someone who took the time to watch almost every single game last season, when I say almost every single game, I think I got to like 79 of the games. Many of the games I watched twice because I was doing videos on them. It's hard for me to imagine that any genuine Pistons fan who watched this team this season, maybe just followed the box scores, could not be excited about the talent on this roster. And I want to dive into two specific areas. The first area is one, what was your expectation? What was your expectation? Now, a lot of people, I've talked about this a lot, had the idea that they were like the Houston Rockets, right? They got their main guy from the same draft. I get it. The Pistons get Cade, the Rockets get Jalen Green. But here's a big difference, and I want to be really specific about this, is that the Detroit Pistons weren't getting a flock of draft picks from a disgruntled star who wanted to move on, who wanted greener pastures. And so in a trade, they get back 2, 3, 4 first round picks, right? That's not the Detroit Pistons. Their star at the time, Blake Griffin, was having, his last flicker of flame for his career. And then he was done. And we got nothing for him. Which meant that this team had to completely bottom out in order to get to the position where they were able to get the number one pick in the draft. Now, kudos to them for timing it. They got the number one pick. In the draft, you should absolutely want the number one pick. Outside of Victor Wembanyama, Cade Cunningham's draft was probably the most heralded over the past 5, 6, 7. Right? And I know you got the Zion Williamson and John Morant draft, but even that draft was very top heavy. It was those two, and then it was a steep fall off. This draft with Cade Cunningham, you had Cade, you had Jalen Green, you had Evan Mobley, you had Scotty Barnes, you had guys like Jonathan Kuminga, you had Jalen Suggs, you had Franz Wagner, you had Josh Giddey. I can go on and on and on. This draft was loaded. And the Detroit Pistons hit. They got the prize gem of that draft, Cade Cunningham. Now, I know some of y'all might say, well, this roster should be winning and doing more. Listen, you have to embrace the process of what it means to become a winner. And to do that, you have to bring in the talent, then you have to develop the talent, you have to surround the talent, and then you have to build the cohesion, the chemistry, the coaching, the schemes, and then you begin to win. The Houston Rockets are not in the same process. A team like the Brooklyn Nets are not in the same process. A team like Oklahoma City is not in the same process. Oklahoma City got draft picks for Russell Westbrook, for Paul George. You got teams like Brooklyn got draft picks from Kevin Durant on top of assets, actual players. Remember, the Paul George brought them the MVP runner-up, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And they got Josh Giddey in the same draft that the Detroit Pistons got Cade. Right? Like it's a different process. And so you have to have an adjusted expectation of what this team is going to be like. On top of that, the second part of it is, why aren't y'all at least giving props to your front office for hitting on pretty much every single draft? Outside of Killian Hayes when Troy Weaver first got there, outside of him, which if y'all really remember that draft, everybody was high on Killian Hayes. Everybody thought he was the next James Harden. And there was nobody saying, no, this guy is not going to be good. He just didn't work out. He just didn't work out. Call it a confidence thing. It had nothing to do with Troy Weaver. Oh, he needs to do more due diligence. Look, have y'all looked at the percentages of lottery picks that bust, that don't make it, that don't develop long careers, that don't become all-stars, that don't become even starters, it's high. And they got the number 4 pick, not the number 1, not the number 2, not the number 3, right? So when you look at what's happened from that point on, they have hit every single time. Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, right? Asar Thompson, Marcus Sasser, right? What aren't they doing well? Isaiah Stewart. Everybody that they're pretty much bringing in becomes a core part of this team. Now, the other part of it is, have y'all not seen what this team was actually doing? Like, did you not see Asar Thompson look like he could become a defensive player of the year? Looking like Ron Artest's nephew with hops? He looked like Ron Artest with a 40-inch vertical, right? On top of his playmaking and facilitating. Cade Cunningham looked awesome as a rookie. Missed his entire sophomore season practically. So this was his sophomore year, his second year. And he still looked dominant at times. Forced defenses to essentially say, we're going to box and one you. We're going to force everyone else to beat you because you're that good. In your second season, we see you as so threatening to beat us at any time that we're just going to box and win you, force everyone else to beat us. Jaden Ivey. I shouldn't have to talk a lot about him. You all already know I was critical of him, probably more than anybody else. Dribbling the ball off his foot, who does that? You don't see any point guards doing that. And yet he does it over and over and over again. But eventually he got put in the starting lineup, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa, look at what he's doing. He's killing it. Dirty balls, dirty pieces, back to back, boom, boom, killing them. Okay, he's got talent. Jalen Duren, come on, a double-double machine, right? The man-child. This young man, he's got everything you want in a big man. Maybe some more rim protection would be nice and a little bit more attention to defense, but he's in his second season. He's one of the younger players in the NBA, came in as, I want to say, the youngest in the NBA. Marcus Sasser, 40 pieces as a rookie. As a rookie. What were y'all expecting? What were y'all expecting, if not for the people you drafted to at least show you flashes? Look, we understood why this team wasn't winning this season. All the veterans were hurt. They didn't have enough leadership, didn't have enough support. Injury riddled, guys trying to find their place, new coach, young guys who don't know how to win yet. Okay, it was going to be bad. You might say it shouldn't have been this bad. Well, why not? In their division, they had a healthy Milwaukee Bucks. They had, early on, Tyrese Halliburton going nuts, right? They had the Chicago Bulls who were still holding their own. You had teams in their division who should have been beating them. How many games were you actually thinking they should not have been losing? And on top of all that, they were still competing. They were still giving it to teams. They were still catching teams off guard, getting W's, right? Like outside of the Washington Wizards, there should have been no one else you were expecting them to beat. Who else was so bad? And even a team like Victor Wembanyama, who got the prize jewel of last year's draft, right? Had guys like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, right? Jeremy Sohan. They had talent on that team. They were the second worst team behind the Detroit Pistons. So your expectations, you really need to think about it. You really need to consider what it is that you're really actually expecting of your team. And yet, if you were actually watching, there was plenty to be excited about. Plenty. And now you got these Detroit Pistons pundits, talking heads, talking about questioning Troy Weaver, even though he got kind of undermined by, Tom Gore and bringing in the coach that he maybe didn't want. Now we kind of see why he may not have been the guy, right? Probably should have went with the other guy, but hey, the owner does what the team owner does, right? And now they're talking about, we need a team president, and you guys questioning everyone. And it's like, they are at the beginning. You're at stage 2. I would say stage 1, but stage 1 is bottoming out to get the picks. You got the picks. Now you're at stage 2. You got to develop the picks. And right now, what you want to see more than anything is just the confidence from the picks. Something that we didn't see from Killian Hayes, which is why it's evident why it's important you see confidence from these picks. You need to see these guys have big games. to be able to struggle and still bounce back, keep their wits, keep their focus, keep their determination. And we saw that. Now, yes, is there things to be desired coaching wise? Look, I keep telling y'all, no coach wins with young players. Doesn't matter how talented. Greg Popovich isn't winning with Victor Wembanyama. Is he not a good coach all of a sudden? Eric Spoelstra, one of the better coaches in the league, right? Probably top 5. You take away Bam Adebayo. You take away Jimmy Butler. You think he's winning 40 plus games? You have to really check your expectations. This team is exactly where they should be. And next season, I think a lot of y'all are going to be embarrassed if they keep this thing together and don't give in to what a lot of y'all saying, oh, go out and get Brandon Ingram, even though he's not going to stay after next season, or go out and get injury-riddled Zach LaVine, who's not a leader and can't get his team into the playoffs on his own, needed DeMar DeRozan, right? You guys are going to go leverage everything, give up your young, talented players for some guy who's going to be lackluster, maybe get you into a play-in, and then you're going to be what? The Charlotte Hornets? Congratulations. I thought you were trying to win a championship. Because that's what the Charlotte Hornets do. Charlotte Hornets, quick fix, fire coaches, blame somebody else, and not actually go through the process of building a winner, developing a team identity, being focused on playing winning basketball, getting in the right pieces, developing that talent, right? This is where Detroit is at, phase 2. And I think next season is going to be the end of phase 2 because you're going to see all the pieces come together. You're going to see Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Asar Thompson, likely, hopefully, Simone Fontecchio, but it might also be Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren in that starting lineup. And then you have a bench of Marcus Sasser, Quentin Grimes, Simone Fontecchio, James Wiseman. You're going to have, on top of this pick as well, which I think is going to be probably Montas Buzelis or Ron Holland. I like both of them. And they're going to slide in there, and they're going to look really good. And they should probably bring in some other, shooters and probably a couple of, versatile defensive players, maybe re-sign Taj Gibson. But at the end of the day, the players who are going to turn this thing around are already here. And if you're not excited about that, I don't know what you're watching. The truth of the matter is you're probably not watching. You're probably not watching. Or if you are watching and you don't see it, it's probably because you're looking for the wrong things. Now, this is the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'm going to get at you. Peace.